Hello everyone, how are you? This is Professor Aury Mesquita, and today we bring you an exclusive piece of mega fashion, mega wonderful jumpsuit. This jumpsuit breaks the norm, presenting a beautiful and unique design. Today, I'll teach you the step-by-step ideal sewing process to pair it with a little jacket or a cute cotton knit top inside, giving it a stylish and modern look. Let's learn Texto Padro. Starting with the basics, cut the bow once. The straps twice already folded, and the regulator with the buckle measurement you'll use. The buttons will go on the little rivets for a snug fit. For the front part, cut it 4 times in denim or any material you prefer. For the back, cut it twice, folded. The back top is also cut twice. Now let's move on to sewing Texto Padro. After sewing the bow and straps, attach them to the front part. Starting with the straps at the shoulders, then sew the sides. Ensuring the straps are securely attached, moving on to the top. Sew the shoulders and neckline, leaving space for the button. The front part is then sewn to the back, forming a snug fit. Texto Padro. For the skirt, sew the sides, leaving a little opening at the top for the button closure. Attach the skirt to the top. Ensuring it aligns well, next, move on to the lining. Sewing the hem and the ruffles, overlock the sides for a neat finish. Then attach the lining to the skirt. Texto Padro. Moving back to the top, sew the buttonholes, attach the buttons, and insert the buckle, ensuring a secure fit. Finally, sew the straps to the back, completing the jumpsuit. The finishing touch includes sewing the button on one side and creating a loop on the other side. For closure.txto Padro. I hope you enjoyed this sewing tutorial. And stay tuned for the next one, where we'll learn how to make a fabulous little t-shirt. Until then, happy sewing. After you've neatly organized the edge, sew a straight stitch all around, adding a top stitch for style. You can use denim sewing thread for an extra touch or regular thread for home, or industrial machines, whichever you prefer. Now that I've sewn the strap part, let's move. Align the strap carefully with the section left for turning, as we'll be placing the button on the back part. Start sewing from the armhole, ensuring the strap's designated spot lines up. Lower the needle, stitch over the strap, and lower the needle again to create the neckline space. Leave 1 centimeter for the neckline and another for the back part. Tuck everything in and start sewing. Pause, lower the needle, and continue sewing the front part. Now, sew the hem. If you want a snug fit for the jumpsuit, trim the excess and make notches. You'll need to add elastic to the front part for a cinched look. Pull the strap through the side opening to turn the piece inside out. After turning, press with an iron to set the seam. Also, by making a wide top stitch, remember to lower the needle each time you turn the fabric. After neatly arranging the edge, you will straight stitch all around, using denim thread for added style or regular thread for home or industrial sewing machines. Sew the strap part you've prepared, then move to the front. Align the strap precisely, securing only the end-sewn part for turning. Begin sewing from the armhole, observing the strap's position, stitching over it. Leave a 1 centimeter seam for both the neck and general sewing. Then sew and organize the fabric. Sew the front part, fold the strap inside, and continue. Now, sew the bottom part for a snug fit. Trim the edge and add elastic for a fitted jumpsuit. Pull the strap through the side opening too. Turn the piece, iron the seam. Complete the front part. Pay attention to the buttonholes. For the top, fold the edges, sew with a backstitch. and create an opening for turning. Trim, make notches, and iron. Finish the shoulder part, leaving an opening for turning. Snip the middle for a smooth curve. Trim and refine, especially with denim. To ease the turning process, adapt the pattern for any fabric and race. Finally, turn iron and sew the lining at the bottom. People, this romper side seam breaks. Looks beautiful. Looks marvelous. Let's start with the side. Always lift the foot when turning. Right? When you're about to turn, sew the entire back, finishing on the side where you started. The only thing not to sew like this is a part. I'll leave it in this shape and finish. I won't sew it like this. Just a part because it will be for the waist. Notice, sew all around to like this. And one without sewing the top part. Finishing, let's do the top stitch. Start from the shoulder, where a button will go, because the buckle regulator will cover the top stitch seam. I stitched a bit wide because the fabric I left is 1 centimeter to fold inside, hiding it. See, fold it inside, press with an iron, organize it, make it neat. Looks nice and comfy. Sew the armhole lower, sew the shoulder. This will be a hit, exclusive and beautiful. I believe it will sell a lot, stylish and comfortable. Done, stitched a wide top stitch all. The little opening you see ended up being closed because I tucked in too much fabric, about 1 centimeter inside. Now, remember the little ear part I mentioned for you to cut out? Well, I folded the edges inward. And I'm here to do a stitch on one side and another stitch on the other to secure it, you see. My bow is already made, right? I'll take it from here. Middle, but then I didn't like it. What do I prefer? Look. I removed the thread to be able to sew all around and give it that more beautiful charm. Because I thought it looked dull. It lacked the top stitching because of the thread, which is eye-catching. So, by adding the stitching, it will look much prettier. Lower on the side, done. Look how beautiful it's going to be. It will be very nice. Fold the middle, wrap the thread part to secure it. Organize the middle, look, to make everything the same proportional size on one side and the other. The bow has to be very proportional, beautiful, right? Now I'll remove the excess thread and sew here. Look at the top stitching part of the neighbor. I'll sew it here on the bow part, right? Just so you can see. Fold the little tip so you can see how it will look. If you want to sew by hand, great. That's fine, but I want to sew with the machine. Look, to put it here in the middle, right, to center it. Okay, so let's go. First, you'll take the back part, center the middle nicely. I'll fold here. Center, put the neighbor part there. Let's call it bias. In the pattern, there isn't one, folks. You just cut a little piece from the side of your fabric to make this finish. It won't have that tiny little part in the pattern like that. So, look, I sewed. Fold the edges inward, you see. Throw it down there, and it's done. Now, yes, I'm going to hand sew the bottom part, right? Also, certainly. Here's the English translation of the provided text, shoulder. Right? Where a button is going to come. Because then the buckle regulator part will cover the top stitching seam, right? So here I come sewing. I did a slightly wide stitch because the fabric part one left was 1 centimeter to fold inside, so it will be hidden. Look, see? It's hidden. Great, organize it nicely. I already ironed it to settle this part so elastane to be more comfortable and looks nice. Sewing the armhole, sewing the shoulder part. This one will be a launch, and it will sell a lot because it's an exclusive and beautiful model. Right? So I believe this one will sell a lot. It's a very beautiful and cozy model. I'm done sewing. I did a slightly wide top stitching all round. Look at this little opening. See? Of fabric, about 1 centimeter inside. Remember the little ear part I told you about? Well, I folded the edges inside. And now I'll do a blanket stitch on one side and a blanket stitch on the other to secure it. See my bow already made. I'll take it out of here. So I've already rolled the thread in the middle. But then I didn't like it. I prefer to do what? Pass it around to give it that beautiful charm. Because I thought it looked dull without the top stitching due to the thread, which is eye-catching. So adding the seam will make it much more beautiful. Lower the needle. Sideways. I'm going to fold about 1 centimeter and leave 1 centimeter from the hem as well. Just make a backstitch on one side. And you'll follow the same pattern. Look from the side, you see? Just tuck it in. You're going to pull it here. Remove this excess. Look at how it becomes embedded. See? Now let's go to the other side. I'm going to do the same here. Stitching on the side, remove the excess thread. And trim your piece. It's more elegant to say trim than pull it out. And throw it away. Oh, my goodness. Now you're going to sew over the top. Pay attention. Because the top thread is the jean thread. So I'll sew over the top for the entire hem finishing. It has to be like that. The seam has to be on the right side. So for a linen hem, you can't do it from the top. Look at this. You fold it and sew about 1 centimeter of hem over the overlock part you made. I'm loving this overlock machine. It's a chain stitch overlock and it's wonderful. And who says a simple home sewing machine can't sew jeans? It sews with great ease. Everyone thinks in one way, and this one sews wonderfully. This little machine. Look at how beautiful the stitching is. Perfect without any tangles. Let's start with the hem here, the lining part. Also a backstitch, there you go. Then I come here. Folding, I won't gather, I'll mark the center of the hem, the ruffled part. Then I come here making small pleats until reaching the center. I'm not counting. Folded to make it work, found the center. Threw it in the middle of the skirt where it's already folded. Now I come back the other way. Picking up the pleats, placing everything in the costuring done, organizing to see. I was counting to see how many there are on the other side so as not to make a mistake on this side. Because you have to talk about distributing to one side and distributing to the other side too, right? Ready, look how beautiful it turned out. Now you're going to come here. Look at one to one side and the other to the other. Leave it here, covering the overlock part. Take the upper part. Look, you see here, right, to make it all the same measurement. Right? Great, distribute it properly. Let's start with the side, backward, so the side part. Lower the needle to turn. Notice that the other part, the frilly part, doesn't have any stitching. Right? So that's it. There's no isn't overlocked because we're going to embed this waistband. right? Then you're going to sew like this, folding it, following the orientation of the folds from below so as not to make a mistake, right? Then you follow and sew it straight so it doesn't get crooked. Ready. Fold it in the same direction as the folds and pleats from below. Look, just observe. You to do. Then sew the other side. Look, organize. Lower the needle and let's sew the side. Ready, sew the side. Remove the excess thread. Now you're going to sew the top. Look, very easy. The same way. Just match side with side so it doesn't fall to the sides. You have to secure it there, right? So start with a backward stitch and sew the side part here. Ready. Habit of pulling the thread to leave the piece ready when finished. You know, then you just have to make pleats. Look, sewing the pleats on one side, the top part. I'm doing it slowly in this video because many people said, I'm doing it too fast and they're not understanding well. That's why I'm doing it slower for you to understand, right? Watching the video, you can slow it down. Just click on it and see the video speed. Then you can slow it down, or if you're very experienced, you can speed it up, okay? It gets a little faster, but when you slow it down, it gets a little slower, that's it, but it works for any format. Just use the little gear above the video and set it, right? Ready, remove the inside of the skirt looks, everything right, comfortable. Now, what are we going to do? Let's take the waistband part. Look, place the waistband. Letting it pass 1 centimeter on the side, let it pass 1 centimeter and start sewing. Remember that my fabric has elastane. It's not that coarse fabric. It's more comfortable for our pet because you have to use comfortable fabric. Look, I made a 1 centimeter seam. Then sewing ready, organizing to see. I was counting to see how many are on the other side to avoid errors on this side. Because you have to distribute to one side and also distribute to the other side, right? All set, look how beautiful it turned out. Now you're going to come here, look. One to one side and the other to the other. Look what I'm going to do, folks. Leave it here. More or less to cover the overlock. You see it's here correctly to be all the same measurement, right? Great, distribute it nicely. Let's start with the lateral backstitch, sew the lateral part. Lower the needle to turn. Notice that the other side, the ruffled part, doesn't have stitching, right? So, there's no stitching for us to overlock because the waistband isn't overlocked. We're going to embed this waistband, right? Then the orientation of the folds below to avoid mistakes, right? Then you follow and sew like this. Straight so it doesn't get crooked. All set, fold it in the same direction as the folds. The pleats below. Look, just observe how beautiful it's going to be. Easy, right? For you to do it. Then sew the other side, organize, lower the side, all set, sew the side, remove the excess thread. Now you're going to sew the top part. Look, very easy. The same way, just match side with side so it doesn't fall to the sides. You have to secure it there, right? So, you start securing with a backstitch and sewing the top part here. Ready, lower the needle. I have this habit of pulling the thread to make the piece ready. When finishing, you know? The pleats on one side, the top part. I'm doing it slowly in this video because many people said I'm doing it too fast. And they're not understanding well. That's why I'm doing it slower for you to understand, right? But there's a little gear that when you watch the video, you can put it slower. You just click on it and see the video speed. Then you can slow it down, or if you have a lot of experience, you can speed it up faster. But when you make it slower, it gets a little slower. That's it. But it works for any format. You just have to grab the little gear above the video and adjust it, okay? Ready, remove the excess thread. Look how beautiful the inside part of the skirt is. Everything is fine, comfortable. Now, what are we going? Waistband part, look. Put the waistband leaving 1 centimeter on the side. Leave 1 centimeter and start sewing. Remember that my fabric has elastane. It's not that coarse fabric. It's more comfortable for our pet because you have to use comfortable fabric. Look. I made a 1 centimeter seam, then I turn the waistband. Organize it. Ready, done. The top stitching is great. Just look at the top of the waistband. I'll grab it here, turn it the other way around, and put the front side part. Just observe the right side of the seam. It's on top. You see that the right side of the fabric is facing upward, and the lining's wrong side is sewn to the waistband, facing downward. Match the sides and sew the little hem here very precisely. The waistline. A bit smaller because you need to leave some excess for sewing. Look at this in the back part. Okay. We'll embed the back part here. Place it on one side, right sides together. Now, side by side, leave some excess for the hem, about 1 centimeter. Let's sew here. Organize slowly. Lower the needle. And now you'll finish it. Tuck everything inside. Sew the little part here. To make it easier, you can also sew it in a cotton fabric. It will look beautiful and charming. So you can sew it in cotton and your pieces will look beautiful. Here, I chose denim because I thought it would look marvelous. And it truly did for this dress or jumpsuit, whatever it is. Look, lower the needle. And let's sew here on the side. Organize it. And trim here. Look, on one side and the other. Also remove the excess. There you go. Now just turn it inside out. Look how easy. Pull here and pull on the other side. Now just iron it to settle the seam. Iron it, settle the seam, fold the edges. See, I've folded it. And I've ironed it, folding it to facilitate. Look, I'll fold it here in the middle. Let me pull a bit here. I folded it in the middle, marked it here, and I folded it. But I know there's a little fold that goes to one side, goes to the other. I should have placed it correctly. Let's start from the middle and hide everything. And I'll make a little seam. I stopped at the side. A thin seam because I'm embedding the part that remained on the shoulder, the curved part. To follow the same direction as the curve. You see this line here that comes in the curve of the armhole. I stopped, turned to the side, a thin seam, and I'll stop. It looks beautiful. Our pets deserve wonderful clothes. Let's sew the top part, which is the upper part. So let's sew the top part, mark the middle again. Very marked. Look, I'll grab the... Ho texto parece ser uma descrico de processo de costura. Aqui esta a trade que pero angles. Little tip, center the middle. Let's sew all around, all right? You can pin it to avoid mistakes. Not take the risk of making it crooked. I'll start from the side. side ready. Lower the needle. I've been sewing all round here, taking it slow. But be careful not to make a mistake. Because you have to sew over the same stitch, right? Look at the amount of denim here. This machine is really strong. Sewing and pulling with wonderful ease. I'm impressed. Lower the needle. It's done. Lowered the needle. Now just it's slow so it doesn't come out crooked. It came out a bit off here because I forgot about this curve. Look, just a little mistake. It has to be perfect. Trim the excess thread. There we go. Look at the inside. The sewing is perfect. Look at the outside. How beautiful. Here, you'll put the adjuster part. Put the adjuster and put the buckle. This part was a bit. Put it and had to pull and fit it on the other side. But then I turned it one way, turned it the other way. And I didn't fit my clamp to help me. So I said, I'll do it by hand. I won't go down to look for the clamp. So I fit it until it worked. Pulled it, everything great, fit perfectly. One side and on the other side too. It will work out great. If you don't follow my Instagram, go follow it to see how cute Duda looks in this outfit. I really hope you like this pet romper. Big kiss and until next time, because in the next one, we'll learn to make a wonderful